One thing that I thought about when it came to this topic is, how do you know if your child is considered sensitive?
That is a great question, because as we know, children have really big emotions just in
Yes,
general.
yes.
I personally have two girls, third on the way. You can't
Congratulations.
underneath the screen right here. But my oldest is 4, and her
Okay,
name's Jackie, and she is extremely sensitive.
okay.
And the way that I kind of realized that was just by the sheer amount of meltdowns and
Mm,
emotions that she experienced on a daily basis.
okay,
I know that toddlers do have tantrums and it's normal, but hers were just so intense
okay,
and so just grandiose and
okay,
very often. So that's kind of clued me into I might have a highly sensitive kid on my hand.
okay, okay. And when she would have these tantrums, because I honestly believe that's the job of a 2-year-old, is to have meltdowns.
Right.
And how do we keep our emotions in check when our child is losing theirs? I think that's really important to talk about too, just
Yeah.
because they're feeling it and then we're feeling it too.
Oh my goodness. Yes. The biggest thing that I found is like your children's emotions trigger your own emotions, and it can take you back to the way that you were parented. It can
Mm,
bring up your own feelings of inadequacy as a parent. Why is my kid acting this way? So
yeah.
there's a lot to understanding, first and foremost, that emotions are okay.
Mhm.
They're good to have.
Yes.
As children, we need to just help them work through it,
Okay.
and not allow their emotions to heighten our own. So
Okay.
being that calm in their chaos is really hard. You have to have a superhuman level of patience,
Yes.
but it's really important that you don't minimize what they're feeling in the
Okay.
moment. So a big thing that I have really strived to
Hmm.
do is to never tell my kid not to cry, or even to say you're fine, it's okay, it's fine, and dismiss what they're feeling. I always um really try to name what they're feeling
Okay.
when they're
Okay.
upset. I can tell you're feeling sad
Hmm.
for you, and just kind of let them feel that, and let them know that it's okay to be sad, or it's okay to be angry. I would be angry too. I
Hmm.
get it.
Hmm.
Instead of making them feel wrong for stop, don't do that,
Yeah.
because that doesn't. I mean, even think of you, like as an adult, if someone told you to stop crying, like
It just
I don't
makes you cry
know.
even more. Makes you cry even more.
Tell me what to do or how to feel. Like, I'm gonna cry if I want to cry. My feelings are hurt. So
Yeah.
I think in a similar sense, we need to recognize and validate our children's emotions, whatever, even if we think that they're silly or
Okay.
over the top. It's what they're feeling.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did want to talk about a little bit about disciplining a
Okay.
sensitive child. I just remember when my sons were about that 2 or 3-year-old age, and we were in Walmart, and I said that word that tends to be a big trigger for kids is the word no. And they wanted what they wanted when they wanted it. And they proceeded to do what toddlers do in the middle of Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
And you feel the weight of the stares and the glares and the judgment of all of the people around you. How do you discipline a child when they have a right to those emotions, but how do you still discipline them?
Yeah, I mean, that is a situation that I feel like any and all parents experience.
Yes.
It is such a stressful thing when you feel others judging you. And
Yeah.
I think first and foremost, let me say that is something that you have to just like
Yes.
you don't, no one else matters in that moment. You have to focus on your kid and what they're experiencing and why they're experiencing it, and not, again, let it trigger your own emotions of, oh my gosh, everybody's going to think that I'm a bad parent. Why can't they just behave? Why can't they just be good kids? Like, stop, like, let's, I'm just trying to get it out, you know. That all heightens the chaos of the situation. So if you can just like recognize they wanted something, I said no, which is great. You have your boundary, stick to that in a very calm and sweet way, you know, like not harsh and not yelling and not threatening and not, you know, you're gonna lose your iPad when we get home, you know, no, none of that, but just calmly saying and not trying to explain why I said no.
You just said no.
Because right now, because in that moment, those kids are like blowing up in their mind about, I want this thing and I'm not getting it, and it's the end of the world, right?
Okay.
And so to them, their rational brain, number one, isn't even fully developed at all. Like, so their capacity for that self-regulation is not there. And part of the whole idea of discipline as opposed to punishment is we have to teach them how to regulate the emotion. So consequences, taking things away, yelling, threatening, and trying to like enforce this good behavior so that everyone around us doesn't judge us. What we really need to be looking at is, how do we connect with them, respond with that connection, validate that feeling in the moment. I know that you want that candy bar and it's so delicious and I would want it too. I mean, and you're sad and you're upset and you're angry or whatever the emotion they're feeling. Let them feel that. And then, you know, step back and just reassure them that that's not what I said we're gonna do. We said no, and we're gonna need to leave now, or whatever. If you feel yourself getting too triggered by it, you know, remove all of everyone from the situation, go out of the store, you know, whatever the case is. But it's only once that emotion on all sides has been regulated, once everything's calmed down, once, you know, once the heightened reaction and tantrum and everything is over, that's when you can kind of go back and teach and discipline, you know what I mean? Like in the moment, in that hot, heated moment where they're crying, that like no one's gonna, like, no kid
listening.
Listen, they don't have the capacity. They don't have the brain capacity. When I'm upset as an adult, I don't have the brain capacity to solve my problems rationally. And kids are the same, and they're even more immature. Their brains still need to develop. So afterwards, go through the whole situation. Once everybody's calmed down and has worked through their issues, then you can kind of talk about it and say, what can we do differently next time, and all that good stuff. And somewhere in the middle there's, you know, calming strategies, right? So I'm like, I skipped over that part. But deep breathing or crying, I mean, having a good cry sometimes helps, you know?
It's a release and a relief.
Exactly. Hugging them, you know, giving them that connection, or just not making them feel bad about the feeling that they're having, you know? And it's normal, it's okay, I get it, it's hard. This is the clear boundary. We're not going to buy this candy bar. And not even trying to explain the rationale behind, because again,
it just is.
Get it.
Right.
But in hindsight, when you go over step by step what happened, you can explain it then. And that's how they're going to learn. Like that's and it's kind of a step and repeat over and over and over. And you have to do it like a million times, because that's the only way that kids are going to learn, is through repetition.
For me, it's what we used to call the broken record method. It skips and you just come to that same place. But as we are examining why and how, one thing I think as parents we really need to look at, and it's something I was taught, and it was to halt. And that oftentimes when kids, even non-sensitive kids, and even more so sensitive kids, if they're hungry, if they're angry, if they're lonely, or if they're tired, that can be some spark to a reaction. When I took my son to Walmart while he melted down, it was 5 o'clock and he hadn't had dinner. And I put us both in a no-win situation because I was not aware of what was going on with him. I just think we'll run in and we'll run right out. And when you go to that place, it's no running in and running out.
I am so glad that you brought that up because that is so true. I mean, I'm not lying. 97% of our meltdowns are solved by getting a snack.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
my girls know the word hangry because I say it all the time. I'm like, you
Yes.
seem a little hangry. Let's go get a snack.
Yes.
And seriously, I mean, not only does kind of like it distracts them a little bit,
Yes.
it also solves that underlying unmet need, which is
Mhm.
often what we see as misbehavior.
Mhm.
A lot of times we're like, why isn't my kid listening to me? Why aren't they doing this? Blah, 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 all this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, we're about half an hour late for nap time. Or
Yes.
if they're older, they're hungry or even overstimulated,
Yes.
just like too much going on and they
Mhm.
can't. So it's really good to be conscientious of that first and foremost. Should have said that in the beginning. Yes.
No, it's all good. Tamara, we could talk about this all day long, about our kids, how we discipline them, how we keep our cool. Thank you for having this conversation with me about how to parent extremely sensitive kids.
Yeah, it was great. Thank you.